Hello, everybody. Welcome to another League Two Lowdown podcast here on the Football Deck. It's another review show. I'm Jack Mitchener. I'm joined by fellow Gills fan Harry Gunn. We are both still reeling from the events that unfolded yesterday. So, yeah, do forgive us. Harry, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Busy week, but here to talk about another good week of League Two fixtures. Lots of strange results in there, and we'll leave Gillingham till later on in the show, I reckon.
Absolutely right. I'm just thanking the Lord I'm not having to do this for Jordan tonight. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all I'll say. Right, let's get stuck right into another action-packed show with our six-match deep dive. And no better place to start, in my opinion, than Accrington Stanley 4, Swindon Town nil at the Wham Stadium. I think one of, if not the most shocking result of the season in terms of the scoreline, although we'll have a few of those today. But not the first time Accrington have kind of dominated a side that are tipped for promotion, so I don't want to do them a disservice by making it out as if it's an absolute complete shock. They came out of the blocks really quickly, went one up through Paddy Madden, who scored an absolute wonder goal, lobbing Connor Ripley from about 30 yards out. I think that was his first goal for Stanley as well, so
Yeah.
brilliant way to get off the mark. Um, Aki didn't really look back from there. I mean, their day was made a bit easier when Ollie Clark was shown a straight red. I can't work out whether it was a last man challenge or an elbow or a bit of both, but ultimately it didn't matter. He was given his marching orders. Um, Paddy Madden scored the second goal, rolled it into the net a few yards out after some really good work from Isaac Heath. Not his first bit last bit of good work for the day. Really good pressing and laid it across. For Madden, and Isaac Heath then scored 6 minutes later with a really good finish himself. Game was rounded off when Madden grabbed his hat trick very late in the 93rd minute after Swindon lost the ball in the middle of the pitch, and Connor Grant slid him in to go 1-on-1 with Connor Ripley. There's generally only one winner when Paddy Madden's in that kind of a position.
Mhm.
A lot to digest there, mate. Really good game.
Yeah, good game. What a shock result. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that before the day. I've been on this show a few times now saying I think Aki are going to have a good season and that they'll come back and they might be able to push for the playoffs. I think this signals that intent clearly. They're serious contenders now for the playoffs. You look at their position and you go, okay, maybe not. But you beat a team like Swindon, and you look at Swindon's record this season. That's a serious result. Yes, it went down to 10 men, 100%. That helps, but 4-0, that's a big intent. 2-0, maybe 3-0, you go, okay, that's the extra man, but 4-0, you've really got to sort of be pushing to get those sort of results. It's good to see Paddy Madden getting some goals. He's been a bit silent. Well, he's been very silent this season, no goals yet. So this hopefully will kick him on from an Accrington Stanley viewpoint. From a Swindon Town viewpoint, this is a bit of a major test of their character, isn't it? They've been on that fantastic run. They had a poor result against Salford, but Salford looked very good. But they've been on a really good scoring run to not even score a goal in this game and to look really sort of stagnant in places. It puts a lot of pressure on them to make sure this isn't a bit of a slump for a side that looks like a playoff certainty. It's just whether or not they can sort of bounce back from this result.
Yeah, do you know, absolutely. I think, a couple of really interesting points. I think Accrington, they had only scored 7 goals before that
Mm,
game. So to get
yeah.
four is going to be a real confidence boost for them. But like you say, they've done it now against MK Dons away from home, Swindon at home. They can beat good sides. They can put those kind of performances in. So bit of consistency, you never know. Um, we shall move on to our second deep dive game. Bristol Rovers 1, Tranmere Rovers nil. Sorry, Tranmere Rovers 4. Apologies. Um, Another result that I don't think anybody saw coming before the start of the before a ball was kicked at the start of the day, and I think it definitely does challenge that Accrington Stanley result as far as one of those shocks that Um, really good day for Andy Crosby and Tranmere Rover fans after what has been a really poor run of form and absolutely what they needed. It's a game that they dominated and they actually had a couple of really good opportunities to score before they did so. But they did open the scoring on the 33rd minute when Nathan Smith met a really good cross from Amari Patrick. Bristol Rovers just didn't manage to clear a set piece properly, which gave Amari Patrick the opportunity to get on the ball out wide and get it back into the danger area. Nathan Smith seemed completely unmarked,
Yeah.
but good header nonetheless. Connor Jennings grabbed the second on the 51st minute after Aaron McGowan put the ball. I mean, he put the ball into the box. It wasn't, in my opinion, the best quality cross by any stretch of the
No,
imagination,
no.
but a really determined flick on
Yeah.
from Connor Jennings. Luke Southwood absolutely red faced after that, in my opinion. I think,
Mm.
as a goalkeeper, you've got to do better than that. Jennings scored again in the 73rd minute after Amari Patrick's shot was saved by Southwood, and he was the quickest to react in the centre of the box. I don't think the keeper could have done much more about that, to be honest. I think it was a decent enough save. I just think Jennings was quicker than any of the Rovers back line. And Josh Davison put the cherry on the cake for Rovers after some more really good work from Connor Jennings. I think he's obviously had a really good day in that game. I guess did grab a late sort of consolation is about as best as you can describe it. That late
Yeah.
goal from Alfie Chan, good goal to be fair. But look, unbelievable result for Tranmere. It's their first league win since the 23rd of August, and it pushes them, up and further away from that relegation zone, which they shouldn't be anywhere near. Whilst Bristol Rovers have lost consecutive home games and they've conceded 4 in both. Harry, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, from Tranmere's point of view, it's a massive pressure relief. It's enormous, really. They desperately needed a win to avoid getting stuck into that relegation scrap, which they absolutely should be nowhere near with the squad that they've got. It proves they still have the quality to turn the performance on. Sort of, can this be the turning point for their season that they really need to sort of push on? As for Bristol Rovers, I'm still not sold on Bristol Rovers. They've gone on that really good run, and the results look good, but there's been hiccups in there. Obviously, last week we had 4-0 against MK Dons. Again this week, another 4 goals. That's 8 goals in 2 games. And then that's not a good look. That's you're going to not be doing that every week and be pushing up the league. So I don't know with Bristol Rovers. I do think this puts a little bit of pressure on them, a bit of consistency if they're looking to break into the top half, which I would reckon would be the sort of the aim for their season, they're too inconsistent at the moment, and they're going to likely be stuck in sort of the mid-table if it carries on. So they need to start turning it on a little bit, stop shipping in the goals, and definitely at home as well. To be conceding that many goals at home is really poor. So they need to change a few things up and try to get back on a winning run again.
Yeah, I completely agree. And do you know what? I've given Bristol Rovers, Daryl Clark specifically, quite a lot of credit over the last sort of 3 4 weeks. Um, just from being able to turn the mentality around from a side that
Yeah,
get relegated from League One to actually look like they may well put a challenge in League Two the very next season. What's concerned me, especially with his post match press conference where he's coming out and he had an awful lot to say about sort of effort levels and the mentality. And now I'm wondering whether or not maybe I was a little bit, I don't know, uh, job done where it really isn't. He's
yeah,
clearly still got some concerns there, and they've got a very good squad, but you can't lose two home games conceding 4 goals in both and expect to be
no,
anywhere near the top of the pile or in that promotion race. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they bounce back. But fantastic for Tranmere, and hopefully for them, it's going to be the start of something, as you say, Harry. Um, Moving on to game number 3, we have got MK Dons winning 3-1 at home to Crewe Alexandra. I think to me this looks like it looked like a tale of two football operations. I will describe it as that are in just very different places at the minute. In terms of the performances they both put in on the pitch, but also the result itself. Um, Paul Warren's MK Dons, they went ahead through Will Collar in the 23rd minute. I've got to say, I actually thought it was a really good goal.
mm,
I thought Ekpiteta did really well in the box to hold his man off. I don't think Crewe did a whole lot wrong for this goal. And it was just a really good strike from Will Collar. So, it's one of those, it can happen, but great stuff from Ekpiteta and Collar. Second came on 41 minutes, and this is where it starts getting a little bit shaky for the Alex. I think it, it, it's a decent enough finish from Alex Gilby, but it's completely down to Crewe. This goal,
yeah,
absolutely down to them. They gave the ball away, and they just static in their own box, and we've said that about them quite a few times this season. Connor Thomas certainly won't want to watch it back, letting the ball kind of go through his legs. And again, I don't want to take away from the quality of Gilby's finish or take away from anything that Dons did, because even when a team give the ball away, you've still got to win it back. You've still got to get it into an area. But yeah, my goodness, not a good one from their perspective. Um, Gilby then sealed things. Third Don's goal in the 57th minute. I'm going to start it the other way around. I'll say a very, very, very good finish from Gilby and fair play to him.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, Crewe at the back. Mickey Demetriou misjudges a through ball. I've got to say on Demetriou, that's the second error I've seen from him in the last couple of
Yeah.
games, and it's a bit rare, and it's not something that I would put to him. Sort of these kind of mistakes that are leading to goals, but yeah, it's something to keep an eye on maybe. But then all right, he misjudges the through ball, but Crewe have then got 6 players in the box that are basically just watching Aaron the Main do whatever he wants to do with it. The Main at one point is actually in the 6-yard box, completely unchallenged.
Mhm.
Knocks the ball back to find Gilby, and again, very, very good finish. I'm not taking that away. It was a really good goal, but Crewe need to look at themselves. Crewe did grab a very, very last gasp consolation through Louis Malt. I think it was about the 100th minute or something.
Yeah.
But just a terrible day at the office for Lee Bell and Crewe. Really good for MK. Harry, what do you make of the game?
Yeah, I mean, again, another dominant performance for MK Dons. This is serious promotion form. There's no two ways about it now. The Dons are really building momentum and signalling their intent, as we all thought they would at the start of the season. There were some shaky patches there, injuries, setbacks. They can have their toll, but they seem to be really sort of building something now. And you got to say they're one of the teams that everyone else in the top 7 is worried about. As for Crewe, always sort of measured up against teams sort of in and around you in the table, and this is a big setback against what is a direct rival where the table positions are. The question now for Crewe is whether it's a minor stumble or a start of a serious dip. I think when we Gillingham went to MK Dons and we really struggled against them with the pace down the wings, it signalled to us that there might be a bit of a issue there for us, and we're really struggling to sort of recover from that as well. So Crewe need to sort of get back on it after this one. Hopefully it's a minor stumble, but yeah, you're right. Defensively, they look shaky. You're right about Dimitri. Is age finally catching up potentially? It's tricky. He is such a solid defender. When I was on here with Jordan a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about him, and yeah, he's very solid. But every player age catches up to everyone, unfortunately. So potentially, hopefully not from a Crewe point of view, but it could be something to look at. Um, I still think Crewe have enough. MK Dons just seem like they're really they're getting things clicking at the moment. So I would say chalk it up as a tough game and hopefully go on and get some points in the future.
Yeah, do you know what, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Certainly, the MK Dons point. I mean, that's 3 cracking results for them in a row. Aaron Collins supposedly back in the next couple of weeks, which is
Yeah.
just not what League Two need to hear. With Dons
Nope.
clicking without him, it's a bit of a scary prospect. But I think we all kind of anticipated this coming. Um, Crewe are a funny one. See, I really don't think they're a bad side. I think what they're
No.
suffering from, or what Lee Bell specifically, I think, is suffering from, is the expectation that's consistently put out from the board and the people above him, with the talk of promotion being the aim and the ambition they've
Mm.
got, but they're kind of matching that with fans' expectations of Lee Bell trying to put in some of their younger players, because that's what they've always done, and they've always been very, very,
Yeah.
very good at that. Whilst also trying to get a system and a way of winning football matches. And I just think there's a little bit of an imbalance between maybe what Lee Bell is doing and is able to do compared to what the board are putting out and what that's giving the fans. Um, we've been there as Jules fans very
Yeah.
recently, the last couple of years. Managers get less time when the fans expect promotion, and I think, yeah, I just think for Lee Bell, I personally I hope he gets time, because he's overachieved with them in my opinion, to getting them in
Yeah.
the playoffs and bits and pieces like that. But yeah, we'll see how they come back from it. But again, MK, I think this is probably the start of them steaming on.
Yeah.
Moving on to game number 4 and one of the huge battles down at the bottom of the table. Newport County 0, Cheltenham Town 2. It is really starting to look like Steve Cotterill might well be the might well be the real deal.
Yeah.
It was a goal in each half from experienced midfielder Luke Young that separated the two sides in the game. The first came on 20 minutes after Jordan Wright's clearance was met by Young on the volley from around 20 yards out, and it kind of flew into an open net. Uh, I know I've had a pop at goalkeepers already this evening, but I don't think he's done an awful lot wrong there. To be honest with you, the goalie, I think he gets it wrong with the first touch, but Young has
Mm.
an awful lot to do with that, and he hasn't got anybody anywhere near him put him under any kind of pressure. So I think the goalkeeper's not been helped by his midfield back line, whatever you want to call it. And it was a really good volley from Young, and his second came on the hour mark, and again it's another brilliant volley from him. It's also another instance where Newport just aren't getting out to their man anywhere near quickly enough. I think between Michael Spellman and Cameron Antwi, he should have been closed down. It should have been blocked. It should have got nowhere near the goal. But they're kind of either half jumping to try and get in the way of the ball, or just watching him swing a leg at it. I don't think the headed clearance was particularly good either. But again, a lot to do for Young, and it was a great strike. Cheltenham now unbeaten in three, and they've picked up 7 points and two clean
Mm.
sheets in the process under Cotterill, which is unbelievable when you consider where they were. And they've now pushed themselves outside the relegation zone. Newport, very bottom of the EFL, doesn't look like it's going to be an easy fix. Fans are getting restless with the owner. A bit of a recipe for disaster, especially when the teams aren't the team isn't getting results on the pitch and they're not getting points on the board. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean the cultural bounces, really, isn't it? I think before he came in, we was all thinking, Cheltenham Town, the dead, the buried. Now they've got a bit of a pulse. They have hope. They're fighting. They're way out of trouble. This was a 6 pointer. It's as simple as that. 6 pointer away from home. Looks like this is going to be a huge win. Actually, not just big, huge in the survival fight. I think they're going to be fine. If this carries on, the game against Gillingham, it was bitty. They played hard. They got the goal. They were unlucky to get the win in the end. They could have walked out with that with 3 points. And then this game, yeah, they've just come in. They've been dominant in this game. Newport didn't really look like they had a hope. I think with Newport, they're going to need to change everything up very, very quickly. I keep going back to when I saw them live, when Gillingham were away to them. They looked good for the first 10 minutes. They looked lively. They really had our number. They just can't. They can't keep that up. They can't. They can't do that for more than 10 minutes. And you need more than that to get points in the EFL. Unfortunately, they're looking like it's going to be a bit of a tough stretch to get out of that relegation zone. I'm not ruling them out now. We're only 13 games in, but they're
Yeah,
going to
of
need
course.
to they're going to need to do something very, very quickly to sort of change this up because it's not looking good for them at the moment.
No, it's not, and I don't like talking negatively about managers and people losing jobs and stuff. It's not,
No.
it's not what you want to see. But I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago about Shrewsbury, and it seems to have had a positive impact on them with Steve Cotterill going to Cheltenham and it pushing them up, and Cheltenham kind of making
Mm.
being the first team to fire the gun, as it were. Um, I can only see it going one way for Newport. I think they're going to eventually have to change the manager because, like you say, it's more than just sort of tactics. It's a huge thing, and I think they're just going to need somebody in there with a lot of experience to try and G them up in a similar way to maybe a Steve Cotterill at Cheltenham. Maybe an old face. I know people would
Yeah,
probably laugh at the Michael Flynn thing, but maybe that's what it needs. I don't
it
know.
might be. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, under Michael Flynn, they did well. It seems Newport
they
over the
did.
last few years have just been going very left field with their choices of managers. It's just
Yeah.
not worked. It's just not been working for them.
Yeah, and it just needs to be something simple. And I think certainly from Jenkins's perspective, the owner, I think it needs to be somebody who's going to bring the fans back in.
Mm.
And it's going to, yeah, it will be key. Again, I hope they turn it around and that isn't the
Yeah,
eventuality, but it's difficult not to mention it. And to be fair, just to finish on this one, because it was such a huge game, I actually didn't think it looked like there was that much in it between the two teams. I don't, it
mm.
wasn't like, I don't think it was like Cheltenham absolutely dominated them. I just
No,
think they had the two moments of quality. Similarly against Gillingham, appreciate the goal itself was a bit frustrating, but it was a wonderful hit from Hutchinson to hit the bar. They've got
yeah,
players that can do that can make things happen, and I just don't know if Newport do. Um, right, we shall move on to our next game now. We have got Salford City 1, Oldham Athletic nil in what was a derby game, the early kickoff on Saturday. It was always going to make for an interesting game because you had two sides that weren't coming in on the best form. I think Salford had lost three in a row, which for them is pretty rare. And I think Oldham's early season good form had dwindled a little bit. They were coming in off the back of I think one draw and two losses of their last three games. So it was two sides out of form, big game. I actually watched a little bit of this. I watched as much as I could as it was on Sky.
Yeah.
And I thought Oldham started really well. Actually, I thought they
Mm.
looked the better side. Certainly in the very early stage of the first half, got into some really good areas. Were causing Salford problems in the wide areas. They had a couple of good pop shots saved from outside the box. I thought Mellon looked bright. It just they couldn't quite grab that goal while they had Salford on the ropes. Um, Salford ended up getting themselves a penalty in the 14th minute after Kelly and Meyer dribbled his way through everybody, and Manny Mont did what I think needed to be done. I think he did his best, but ends up taking Kelly and Mai out. I've got to say, he seems like, to me, every time I've watched him play, he just seems like the most technically gifted player in the league. To me, I,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
anybody in League Two can do what he can with the football. It's incredible, really. I don't understand how he's still playing at this level. Kadeem Harris's penalty was saved by Matthew Hudson, but Daniel Dome managed to somehow eventually scramble it
Yeah.
into the back of the net. Yeah, bit of a crazy goal in the end. And do you know, after that, I thought it was quite an open game. I thought both sides had good chances. Obviously, a bit of the thing that kind of killed it for Oldham was the red card. 64 minutes when Will Sutton was judged to have brought down Kelly and Mai. Again, it was Kelly and Mai. It was outside the box. He got straight red for it being last man. I think Kelly and Mai, he was gone. So
Mm.
yeah, it was the right decision. It was definitely outside the box. I know there was a lot of people that were wondering up and ahhing whether it was a penalty, but it was definitely outside the box. Um, Oldham definitely had their chances to nick a point, but I think Salford did really well actually to grab that win. Um, yeah, how did you see it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a buzz around Salford at the moment. The documentary on YouTube, that those little clips and bits that they're doing are really good, and they're getting people sort of engaged with their story again. We've been there with Salford. They're always that sort of that team that sort of broke out when they were in non-league because of the class of '92, and that really sort of propels them up into sort of the mainstream thoughts. And then it sort of simmered down a little bit, and sort of a bit of attention has been taken off Salford, and it's only sort of recently that it's coming back again. I don't know why, but my Facebook obviously feels that I'm a Salford fan because I've been having Salford media sort of forced down my throat all week. I'm not sure why, but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it, and then yeah, this result was really good for Salford. You're right. There wasn't much in between in this, which is a good sign coming out of a loss for Oldham. You know, you take these positives when you lose games like this, but to sort of go toe to toe with a team which I think will be up there, really up there. I'm sort of backing Salford to be up in the top three by the end of the season. And to go toe to toe with them is a really good thing for Oldham. I think it will do them a world of good, that game. I know they didn't get the result, but you can lean back on the fact you've got a red card, and that's kind of killed the game off a little bit. Um, from a Salford point of view, they just keep picking up results. They're sitting seventh at the moment. It's just from one to one to one that they keep picking up the points. And what a strange signing of Fabio Barini coming in there as well. I don't know where that's come from. That's one of those transfers which is just out of absolutely nowhere, but I love it. I love it for League Two. No doubt he'll score a hat trick against Gillingham.
Well, let's hope not. But yeah, I mean,
That's,
it's,
that's
it's
the
just one
sort
of
of
those
mood I'm
that's.
in, clearly.
I know. I'm with you. I am with you. Yeah, one of those signings that's come completely out of nowhere. But I suppose it's the pull of Salford and everything that goes with it, as
Yeah,
you said. Um, but yeah, I agree. I think Salford are definitely going to be a side that are going to be in and around it. I dare say if they're up in and around the playoffs and autos come January, I'm sure there will be a few extra pounds found somewhere for them
yeah,
to improve that squad and keep that push going. So I think they've had quite a reserved transfer window from Salford's
yeah,
sort of history. I think they've been quite clever. They've brought in a couple of players from non-league that have fit in really, really well. They've brought in athletes from the looks of it. So I think in January, yeah, you might well see them spend a few more pounds. Um, but yeah, next game, final deep dive game, we have got the third contender for result of the day. We've got Walsall 1, Barrow 2. Uh, again, not one that I saw coming by any stretch of the imagination. Look, but I mean, Barrow were coming into it on some decent form. I think they were unbeaten in the four coming into this. I think 1-2 and drawn two. But Walsall were a team that hadn't lost since the 19th of August and have just been going absolutely brilliantly. So I didn't see it for Barrow, but fair play to them. They took the lead for Elliot Newby on the half an hour mark after a really good cross from Ben Whitfield, which I think probably stunned the Bescott into silence. Um, to be fair, I think they did, an awful lot of defending, and Walsall clearly had a lot of chances. And when Lewis Shipley was dismissed on the 56th minute after picking up his second yellow card, I think everybody probably looked at it and thought, okay, well, this is where Walsall are gonna be able to break them down and get through. But on the contrary, quite the opposite. They actually managed to Barrow managed to grab a second through Charlie McCann after some more really good work from Ben Whitfield. Looked like he had a really good game, and also some really poor defending in the Walsall box, which is very out of character for them. Uh, Walsall did manage to grab one back through Daniel Kanu in the 74th minute. Again, I thought that would probably leave them enough time to snatch a draw. But fair play to Barrow. They managed to hang on to what is a really impressive 3 points by showing some real character, and also relying on another, I will say, really good performance from Will Stanway in goal. He's having quite a good start to the season, and for a 24-year-old goalkeeper, I think he might be one to keep an eye on. Certainly come summertime. Barrow obviously now they're 5 unbeaten and 5 points off the playoffs. Which, when you think about where they were a few weeks ago, is pretty astounding. Walsall remain top of the league with a 2 point cushion. What with all three of the top three at the start of the day losing, they managed to get away with it. What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on Will Stanway there. I think for a player, he seems to me like the most important player for any sort of individual team. He seems like for Barrow, he just gets some points. Here we've got, you look at the stats from this game, and I think Walsall will be like, they have no idea how they've not walked away with at least a point, 11 shots on target. So a player like Will Stanway being in goal, that's saved them not just a point, but they've got all 3 points here because of that performance. And sometimes goalkeepers, they go under the radar a little bit because it's not as flashy. But I think it's important to highlight him here for Barrow because he's so important to them. And a few games this season now where he's got these extra points for them. I think from a Walsall point of view, it's a bit of a reality check for them as league leaders. You sort of get up there and you feel like this game, you sort of look past it a little bit. A team like Barrow at home, you feel like you should get 3 points. It's going to be quite an easy day. And I think they've come into this a little bit naive in that fact, and it's a bit of a reality check, as I said. Shows a bit of a vulnerability for them. Obviously, losing a player here, they should have got a point. They should have got something from this game, but they didn't. And yeah, it's a great result for Barrow. That's going to do them a world of good. Again, it's going to be another one of these results from this week, which has really helped the team in the bottom half of the table to sort of push up and get a bit of confidence. It's good for the league. It really is. You never want a sort of one-sided league where you've just got all the teams at the top getting results. So results like this and other results this week are, they're really good to see. And yeah, Barrow, there's something there with Barrow. I always feel there's something. We've seen this in the past. I'm not sure this will be their season. I still think they'll be sort of a mid-table team, but they can get points against teams at the top, and they've done it previous seasons. And here's another result to go in their trophy cabinet.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. And on the Will Stanway point, I think props need to go to their recruitment team on that, because I think I'm right. He was signed last summer, so under Stephen Clements, to be the understudy to Paul Farman, who was obviously a bit of a legend up at
Yeah.
Barrow, and who's been an absolute stalwart for them. And I think him being an understudy for a year, to somebody like that has had a huge impact on him, and he's having a fantastic season. So yeah, shout out to Will Stanway. Um, Right, that brings us to the end of our deep dive matches. So we'll now cover off the final 6 games. Cambridge United put aside their pretty horrific loss to Shrewsbury last weekend with a 2-1 home win against Bromley. Really good result for them, and another Michael Cheek goal for Bromley. Probably the most unsurprising thing to say about the entire weekend. Barnet 0, Notts County 1. Tough for Barnet. It was a very, very late goal for Notts County. Puts Notts right up in that promotion picture. Chesterfield drawing at home 1-1 to Fleetwood Town. Colchester United with a 3-1 win at home to Harrogate. Another phenomenal win for Colchester. Seem to be really hitting their stride. Uh, Grimsby Town 1, Gillingham 0. We're going to have to be very careful about how we discuss that game. So I'm gonna pass that one over to you in a little while, mate. And final game was Shrewsbury Town 1, Crawley Town 0. Huge win for Shrewsbury. It was one that actually was a bit of an and ah as to whether we were going to cover on the deep dive. It would have been deserved. There was just an awful lot of good matches and important results that happened. Harry, anything you want to pick up on those 6?
Yeah, so I mean, the Colchester game really sort of sticks out to me there. That's back-to-back hat tricks. So 2 games in a row with hat tricks for Colchester. That's really an impressive stat. I mean, it's brilliant for them. They seem to be sort of picking up now and getting into a stride. I always felt like Colchester at the start of the season they were sort of dormant a little bit and things weren't going well. Players weren't scoring, but now they're starting to sort of tick along. Obviously, you can't rely on individual performances week in, week out. I read a comment on a video a couple of weeks ago where we were sort of talking about the dark arts and Colchester mastering them, and it was a Colchester fan who sort of said, that it's not all dark arts. They do play fluid attacking. Well, fair play. You've shown us there over the last few
Absolutely.
weeks. Yeah, they clearly do, and it's good. It's good attacking football. So that's good for Colchester. The Cambridge Bromley game. I'm not sure what's happening with Bromley at the moment. At the start of the season, they seem to have everything sort of ducks in a row, and they knew what they were doing, and it's starting to just fall apart a little bit. I wouldn't say it's panic stations by any means, but there's clearly something not ticking at the moment. So they've just got to find a bit of rhythm. However, the Michael Cheek goal at the end, brilliant goal. It's another one of these sort of lobbed over the keeper. I love it. Michael Cheek, brilliant player, score goals for fun. But Cambridge, Neil Harris has them sort of. We know what Neil Harris does. He clearly has systems. He clearly sort of studies the other team, and they grind out these results and they make it hard for opposition. Cambridge are sitting in 8th now. I look at their squad and I go, there's some really exciting players in there. Could they really sort of sneak into the? It's not even sneaking now. They're right there, get into the playoffs and really sort of push for a challenge this season. I think they could. Let's talk about this Gillingham Grimsby game then.
Do we
I've
have to?
tried
Yes,
to avoid it as much as possible.
oh goodness.
Quite quite frankly, it was a tough day for us. There was some decisions that didn't go our way. Is probably the most political way of saying it. But Grimsby did what they needed to do. They did make it look tough though. They did. You've got a game here where you've got a man sent off early on. You've scored a goal from a penalty, and yeah, no open play goals in the whole game. So you've got to look at it from a Gillingham point of view and go, well, we haven't absolutely collapsed. We saw Grimsby Town do this against Cheltenham. I'm not saying Gillingham's at Cheltenham's level because they're absolutely not. But then they scored 7 goals. So we didn't do that. We kept strong. We put up a fight. And that's all you can ask in those sort of situations. Gillingham, we're on a little bit of a slump at the moment. We need to pick it up. I'm confident we will. If you had asked me at the start of the season, would you take 5th position, 13 games in? I'd probably say yes, to be honest. I'd say more than fine, happy with that. It's just about resetting now from a Gillingham point of view. And then from a Grimsby Town point of view, they are flying high at the moment. They are doing really well. They're looking great. More of the same for them, and I think they're gonna keep up there. They're really on a good run so far this season. Other sort of results around. Yeah, the Shrewsbury Town against Crawley Town, that's another 6 pointer when you look at it. Crawley have not hit the heights yet this season. They're looking like they're really, really struggling, which I'm surprised by because they've got good players in there. Again, another red card. There was a lot of them this weekend. Um, that's hurt them. But Shrewsbury again, they've capitalised on that. Shrewsbury are going to need to pick up these results against these teams around them. The likes of Cheltenham, Newport, Harrogate. Okay, they're going to need to get these points. So this was a massive game for them. Yes, it's 1-0, but it's a really important game for them to have won. But again, another good slate of fixtures. The league's exciting. I honestly, at this point, couldn't pick a team that I think is running away with it at the moment. There's no one really. MK Dons, yes, they're hitting their stride, but there's no one which you can go, yep, they're definite they're going to run away with it this season. So it's shaping up to be another good season of League Two football.
Yeah, completely agree, and it's just continuing that completely unpredictable nature that this division has. I mean, it'd been lost a few years ago when you had the likes of Stockport and Wrexham and teams like that down here, but it is just completely wide open. Um, just to kind of yeah, I suppose have a quick run through them. I think Colchester Harrogate, going back to that, and actually this resonates with the Chesterfield game as well. I've very recently, in the last sort of couple of months, I have publicly sort of come out and questioned the likes of Dylan Markande, and I also named Harry Anderson when I was talking about Colchester's lack of goals. Markande has scored another goal since I came out and said
Yeah,
that, and made me look very silly. Harry Anderson has since scored a hat trick, and in fact, I think since I had my little why aren't Colchester United scoring goals, I think Colchester have gone and scored goals for fun in every single match. So what I've decided to do is keep all of my questioning for Gillingham only. I'm only going to talk about Gills players now, and I'm only going to
it's
call
a good
them out
idea.
because
Yeah,
we absolutely need. Yeah, we need some players scoring goals, and I suppose if anybody else wants their players called out, I am available for a small fee.
yeah,
So please let me know. Um, yeah, I suppose I'll kind of work back the other way. I mean, Crawley Town, I've got to talk about them very briefly because they do worry me, and I just it's their inability to grind out results comparative to those other teams that are around them. I think is what concerns me because they're just the sort of side that they're not. They're never going to be a really good, strong, solid defensive unit because Scott Lindsay's teams aren't. Um, but they're also not picking the goals up, and they're not scoring like they should in order to get those results. And I'm looking at Cheltenham; they're looking very very good now, very solid, very well organised. Shrewsbury Town, they've managed to get 2 wins on the bounce, 2 clean sheets on the bounce as well. Accrington, obviously, we know that they've got a bit of quality. I know Harrogate lost, but they're a team that can go anywhere and win a game of football. Crawley are a little bit of a concern, probably more so than they have been for me at any point this season. Um, and what hasn't helped them, I know we kind of mentioned the Harry McCurdy red card. I mean, he was having a very good game by all accounts. I think he
yeah.
was doing his pantomime villain thing very well that he does, and had a goal disallowed. From the view I've seen, I'm not entirely sure whether it was offside or not, but he was having a good game and then manages to get himself sent off. So next fixture, next game they've got no Harry McCurdy. I don't see where goals are going to come from without him in the
No,
team, quite honestly. Um, so yeah, and just on the I suppose on the Grimsby Gillingham game, just to cover it very very briefly, it's very difficult to talk about it without making it all about the officials, and I don't want to do that as a Gillingham fan because I don't want to come across as if I'm sour grapes or whatever else. Grimsby are a very 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 good team. Just make no mistake about it. They will be right up there, and they will deserve to be. They've got some phenomenal players, a really good manager, and they are a really good side. Um, but what's frustrating is that for us, at 0-0 with at 11v11, we'd had we'd had a couple of good chances. Sir Palmer Holden easily could have put us 1-0 up very, very early on. And whilst I know Grimsby were putting some pressure on us, we're very comfortable when it looks like we should be uncomfortable. It's kind of one of our
yeah,
strengths when teams
yes,
are on us and are making it look like we're under pressure. Our team, the way that Ainsworth's got us playing, we're quite comfortable in that. So it's just so frustrating. But look, we will dust ourselves off. We'll go again next weekend against Salford. We are heavily depleted. I believe we've lost Sam Gale, Max Clark, unless Ramaya Hutton's red card is overturned. We've lost him. So our back line is going to look very, very shaky. So, fingers crossed. I'm not sure whether we'll see Ainsworth next weekend or whether it'll be a week too soon, but
Yeah, we'll
hopefully we
see.
can dust ourselves off and go again. But we'll be playing a very good and very confident Salford side. So,
Yes.
um, but yeah. Well, anyway, that brings this League Two Lowdown Review show to a close. As always, please can I ask everybody to download the podcast and make sure you like and subscribe and comment and do all of that good stuff. It does really help us out. And as I've said many times before, we really, really like the engagement. It just makes everything all the more enjoyable. Thank you very much from Harry and myself. And we will see you all for the preview show midweek. Thank you very much.